Bonjour, Dr. Edward from Montreal with the Gnosis of Life series. This piece is on the soul versus the ego, and a fight it is. A funny thing happened on our way through various evolutionary steps. We became aware, became conscious, that is, of energy. Energy is everything everywhere, and as Einstein put it so simply, can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. Wow. Sounds like a creator God if there is one, which of course there is, and in present day science math stuff, it, he, she matrix is known as the fluxion process. Read up on it at primordialitycom if you're interested. From all the ancient writings, yes, mostly from the East and of course mostly refuted by the Western religious systems, we find that there is a one creator God that many call Om, which is the root energy of sound in vibration. As this sound vibrates down to us at our level, having made all the various things at all the other levels and dimensions, we, as a physical body, have part of that energy within us, but much more so, we can develop a consciousness or awakenment to it. There is a spark within each of us that is from our Creator that we call our soul. Remembering that which is energy lives on forever and ever, cannot be destroyed nor created, we can transform it for bad or for good. The good part is pretty straightforward, as we have had so many messengers, messiahs, masters amongst us, not to mention a truckload of ET types that have all helped us along in learning to be all we can be by acting consciously once we awaken to ourselves, that is to say, to understand our higher divine self. But as with life and how it goes, we have an issue or issues to deal with first. Unless we are light beings and thus do not really have a physical body, we were born with two parents and have the DNA that denotes we are humans. As such, our body part of who we are has evolved from ape lines, had some genetic engineering adjustments along the way, but all in all, we still have a basic biological nature within. It is this biology that allows us to experiment in the here and now by having experiences of joy, happiness, and of course, of love. As well, if we don't pay close attention to ourselves, if we are not aware of what we are really doing at any given moment, then we are just as likely to live the hunger, thirst, pain, desire, anger, and fears that are inherent in any organism that is animated. So, just as we are animated interfaces, in the fluxion process way, sending information and impulses back to the center energy that connects us all together in one way or another, we also live animated emotions, feelings, and actions that are of our lower or baser organism or biological nature. These baser actions are what we call the egos. In the West, when Freud and company started the psychology of it all, the term ego was used in a science manner only, to denote the person or being that was within the brain mind, such as the personality. For your study pleasure, read up on the ego, superego, and the id, which will help put some of this into context. Yet, once again in the West, they used a meaning that those in the East would not agree to. Seemingly, the East is spiritual to the West being science fixated. The egos in theology would be called the sins, and this, being the negative aspect, allows organized religion to maintain control over the masses. Yet the paradox is, without knowing hot, we cannot know cold, and vice versa. So it is with all of the egos and the opposite virtues. If you have not experienced sadness, then you do not really understand joy and happiness. We think it is us that experiences the pain, but it is the egos by erroneously learned behavior patterns of stimulus response. In all that has been written about human spiritual psychology, it all comes down to whether we choose to live actions or our virtues, or as egos, the sins. The virtues are what steer us towards awakening consciousness, while the egos drive us along a path of least resistance, and that is from our innate baser drives of a biological nature, stimulus, response, conditioned. How we arrived at this point, living more as our ego, and how the organization system of this and that has become humanity's puppet masters can be well understood by watching the documentary Century of the Self. It is likely one of the best ways to introduce yourself to your own psychology, as well as to just how it is being manipulated for someone else's pleasure and benefit. Your soul will live on from life to life, as will some of your egos given how karma works, but that is another story for another piece in this series. But please remember, we are a soul in the human suit. There is a higher power that connects us all. The egos are the issues we all face, but by requiting Om's love, we learn to love correctly and be all we can be. Thanks for your interest in your Gnostic, aka True Self.